Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at Ultra Magnus here. Now the first thing I want to talk about in this review is the weapons. So let's start off by looking at the Forge of Solus Prime here, which is a battle hammer according to the box for this figure. And as you can see, very nicely detailed, although below the actual head of the hammer it's not painted silver, but you do have some nice detail there. I'm not sure why there's these little indentations here. It may be part of the design, I'm not sure, but they're there. You've got a peg here, so there is that. Actually, one thing I do want to say about this before I move on is one of the reviewers had commented on the fact that this particular hammer, the Forge of Solus Prime, is not quite show accurate. The hammer actually should be bigger in relation to the Ultra Magnus figure. So there is that thing to consider. And I think that person's right. It should be a little bigger, but nonetheless the hammer is pretty nice as an accessory. So looking at the other accessories here, you do get some firing projectiles, and what you can do is actually rotate these bits here forward like that, and you simply push on the back of the missile and they do fire off. So now looking at the backpack, you can see very nice sculpting detail in the plastic, very fantastic. If you take a look at all these different sculpting details here, very, very nice. And if you wanted to, you can actually paint this silver or maybe do some dry brushing and really bring out the detail. But as it is, really, really nice. I do like that and appreciate that Hasbro has actually done some extra work in making all this sculpt look so wonderful. As you can see, there's a peg hole back here, which you can peg on the Forge of Solus hammer back here if you so desire. That will peg in back there. Now, the actual backpack here is actually removable, and it's just tabbed into place around the base of Ultra Magnus' head here. So let's go ahead and remove that. Before I do, actually, let me go ahead and show you articulation. The wings actually go like that, and you do have a hinge joint here as such. So let's go ahead and remove this here. Get this untabbed. Because if you wanted to, you could take your RID Prime figure here and equip him with the backpack, which is kind of cool. So let me go ahead and show you how that works out. It's the same design, so it just, again, tabs into place. There we go. Bring that down. And there, RID Prime has a backpack. It's kind of a moot point because we have the Beast Hunters Voyager Prime, which has this similar arrangement with the backpack, but it's an option if you want to. Looks pretty cool. If you don't have the Beast Hunters Voyager Prime, you can certainly take your Ultra Magnus backpack and put it on Prime here. Now you do have the blue color here that carries over from the Ultra Magnus figure. You can certainly paint this if you wanted to actually give this to Prime permanently. Alright, so let's go ahead and compare Ultra Magnus with Optimus Prime. Of course, they both share the same base figure in terms of the transformation and in terms of the overall figure. As you can see, of course, Ultra Magnus is taller, so to speak, because of these shoulder armor here and the extensions here on the top. So it does make Ultra Magnus look bigger and more formidable than Optimus Prime, which is normally the depiction in the cartoons and the shows we've all seen. So it makes sense for Ultra Magnus to be, or at least appear to be, bigger and taller than Optimus Prime. Really, if you match head to head, they are the same height. It's just that the shoulder armor here gives the Ultra Magnus figure a much more imposing look. Of course, they changed up the head sculpt for Ultra Magnus, gave him an entirely new head sculpt, which you can see there. I do think the head is a little bit small in comparison to the rest of the body, so there is that. As you can see, the chest here, at least this portion of the chest, is different. You have the clear translucent plastic there with the chest, as opposed to just a solid piece of plastic with some paint on it. So there is that difference. But you can see the torso is the same. They have the same torso, the same hands, the same legs as well. And you can take a look at the back here and compare the look there as well. Okay, so for the next comparison, I brought in the original Transformers Prime Voyager Ultra Magnus. One of the things I do like about the original better is the darker blue color as compared to the one here. I do also like the larger head sculpt, or the larger head, because I think this head looks better in proportion to the rest of the body as compared with the Beast Hunters Ultra Magnus. I think the head here is just a bit too small. I thought about swapping the heads, but then I realized the coloring wouldn't be off because the blue here is darker than the blue there on the head sculpt there. So there is that difference. Although overall, I like this figure better. This is a more of a G1 silhouette. So I do like overall the silhouette, the overall design of this figure better. Moving on to articulation, starting with the head. The head appears just to be on a swivel joint. There doesn't appear to be a ball joint. So you do have some swiveling action there at the head. Shoulder articulation here, there is a ball joint there. You have swivel at the bicep, bend at the elbow. You have the hand articulation as such. Really all it is a swivel, and that's due to transformation. You have the articulation here at the hips, forward, back, out to the side, swivel at the thigh, bend at the knee, and you have the actual foot on a ankle ball joint. So moving on to the transformation of Ultra Magnus here into vehicle form. The way I'll be showing you is the way I do it. It may not be the same as Hasbro tells you to do it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the chest section here and untab it and pull it all the way forward and out down to this position there, and that allows you to rotate this assembly here, and this is going to be the front of the vehicle mode, and that kind of dictates the rest of the transformation and kind of helps you figure out where things are supposed to go. So of course this portion here is going to be the front of the cab, so you're going to rotate it forward like that. Then as for the arms, you want to take the shoulder joint here, I guess you'd call it, rotate this back all the way like that, and then rotate this around like that, and you're going to take the hand here, rotate it down, and bring this whole assembly here forward like this. And then this part here rotates around like that, and we'll leave it like that for now. Alright, so moving to the other side, of course I'm going to do the same thing with this arm, and it may help just to go ahead and rotate this around first, and then rotate this joint inward. And rotate the hand down here, and these two sections here are going to tab together, forming the front portion of the vehicle mode here. There we go. And I do need to rotate this bit around here so it matches this. So this should rotate around, and these are going to tab together as well, and we'll come up across the top here and tab into place like that. And then what you want to do is kind of hold everything together here. I'll bring up the side section here. There's a little tab there, get that underneath there so that it tabs nicely into place. Tab it right there as well on the side. Bring up this panel here. There is a tab and a slot there as well. I'll tab it on the side. And we'll do the same thing, of course, on this other side here. Get that tabbed into the front. There, on the side. Bring up the panel here and tab that into place as well. So looking at working on the actual feet here, you want to bring up these sections here, and they are actually going to go underneath like that. And then take the feet here, rotate these inward like that, and tab together. Make sure everything's all nice and snug. And there you have vehicle mode for Ultra Magnus. Okay, so let's have a look at the vehicle form of Ultra Magnus. Now, as you can see on the rear of the vehicle, you can store the wings and the hammer. And while I realize some people may not like the look of that, for some reason I do like the look of that. Just the way that the wings here are swept up like this, and the fact that you can store all of the accessories here on the vehicle form. And as a comparison visually, here is the RID Prime in vehicle form, and the key differences obviously are the weapon storage back here, but also you have these bits that are not present here on the Prime vehicle mode. So you can take a look at the visual difference there. And you can actually store the wing and the hammer here on the back of Optimus Prime. Let me show you how that's done. Basically, the same 3 peg holes that are on Ultra Magnus here are actually on the Prime figure. So if you want, you can take the whole assembly here and plug it right in. Just line up the holes and there you go. So you do have that option if you want. So pretty cool. I'll go ahead and put it back on here. And the vehicle form here does roll really well. So there's no problem with that. So overall, really nice looking vehicle form. Okay, so one thing before I finish up the review here, if you don't like the way the missiles are up here when they're stored up in the shoulder armor, you can actually store them on the backpack. There actually are 2 clips, one here and here, and the missiles can actually store in there. Of course, that also holds true for the vehicle mode. So final thoughts on the figure, should you pick it up? Well, it's obviously going to be up to you, but I can tell you what I like about this figure, what I don't like about the figure. Let me start off with my dislikes. One is the size of the head in relation to the body. I don't really like that. If I can find some way to transplant this head onto there, I might do that, even though it's a different shade of blue. Speaking of shade of blue, I do prefer the darker shade of blue here on the original Beast or Transformers Prime Voyager Ultra Magnus. So I do like that better. This particular figure here, the Beast Hunters version, is actually more of a G1 Ultra Magnus feel to me. I do like that. One thing about the hammer also, just to reiterate that, is the hammer, as many people have suggested, is actually smaller than it actually appears on the actual cartoon. So there is that. I do like the backpack. I do like the look of that. I don't think we've seen Ultra Magnus in the show actually have a backpack like that. And it's cool that you actually can take this and place it on the RID figure. So I think they've done a great job in basically taking the original RID Optimus Prime and making a entirely new character, new figure out of it. And they've done enough recoloring and resculpting and retooling, as well as new weapons, to actually make it a unique figure. So like I said, I prefer this Ultra Magnus overall as compared to the original one, but the original one does have some advantages as well. Alright, well, thanks for watching. This has been my review of Transformers Prime Beast Hunters Voyager Class Ultra Magnus. Thanks for watching.